Hello, hello everyone, and welcome to a new IoT Sparks free webinar. And as usual, I will spend a couple of minutes introducing the webinar of today, and also as an opportunity for all the people to join the webinar, as so we can everybody can enjoy the content we are providing today. And today we have a very interesting topic. We're talking about smart infrastructure, which sometimes is a little bit, there is a little bit of confusion with smart building. This is something more related to the, let's say, architectural infrastructure, building, bridges, railways, and more. We will explore today a little bit which are the use cases this kind of solution can address, which are the needs, which are the challenges that this solution, thanks to, say, structure monitoring and LoRaWAN in this case, allows to address. And as usual, I'm not alone in in these webinars. Today, I'm with two speakers. One, Clerice Abatangelo, is from Move Solutions, and Move Solutions is a company that develop and provide end-to-end solution in this sector, in this smart structure sector. And she is key account manager and business development manager at Move Solution. Move Solution is a young company, but it's growing massively because they actually found a niche where there is a lot of potential, and they are from Italy, unleash this potential worldwide. And together with Clerice, my colleague Manuela Schlereth, always difficult surname for me, but I'm happy to introduce her as well. She's a technical account manager in LORIOT, with us since a while already, and she's German but based in our office in Valencia, and providing a lot of value, bringing a lot of value to our customer base. She's LoRaWAN expert, and she will talk a little bit about LoRaWAN as the communication protocol behind the smart solution, Move Solutions product. As usual, I remind everyone that you all can ask questions through the chat or QA tool in Microsoft Teams. That is the platform we are using now. And I also, as usual, remind that this webinar, as well as all the previous webinars, will be shared as a replay. Now we are live, but the replay will be shared tomorrow or in the next few days in our YouTube channel. And if you are looking at this replay video, don't forget to follow our channel, and so you will be, say, informed about new webinars every time we share and publish one. Nothing to add, and so I hand over to Clerice to start this interesting webinar, and I hope you all enjoy it. See you at the end for the Q&A session.
So thank you, Dario, for the introduction. So I'm Clerice, and I'm working at Move Solutions. So Move Solution is a very young company, and we develop wireless IoT sensors. We are working all over the world right now, and we have installed lots of sensors on bridges, railways, and lots different of infrastructure. So the first question is why monitor? So infrastructures are like our bodies, so they need regular checks to ensure its integrity and health, for example. So it's a very important activity. But now, as we know, we are facing a major infrastructure crisis with serious incidents, for example, such as the famous or infamous Morandi Bridge disaster in January, for example. And why this occurred? Because there is an ineffective monitoring with, for example, outdated instrumentation. Another problem could be a poor maintenance strategies, for example. And of course, nowadays we are facing with another problem, such as the environmental impact, which has changed in recent years due to the climate change. So another additional problem could be also that the traditional monitoring methods fall short in predicting failures. Instead, with, for example, a smart system such as our system that we are using, IoT and AI, you are able to prevent such problems. I'll make an example. 2 years ago, we monitored some silos in Beirut after the famous explosion. And thanks to our system, the engineering company that was following the project was able to put in safe the whole area before their collapse. So this was exactly thanks to this preventive monitoring approach. So we can say that there is an urgency to shift towards more proactive and predictive asset management. And this shift could be embraced by using smart monitoring solutions. And this is what we are doing at Move Solution, because we combine IoT for the hardware part, so for the sensor, and AI for the software part, because we do not just develop the sensor, so the hardware part, but we develop also the cloud platform where you can see all the data and then do the asset management. So this is IoT plus AI is for a reliable infrastructure management. In fact, our sensors are completely wireless sensors that use the LoRaWAN protocol to communicate and send the data they've collected. And they use this protocol for makes the whole monitoring activity easier and more immediate. For example, starting from an easy installation, because this kind of system is a cost-effective and also reduces effort to physically install the sensor, because the sensor are like closed boxes, completely wireless. So you just need 2 screws and then you can install on the selected infrastructure. Then another advantage is the possibility of viewing the data in real time on the platform directly from your laptop, for example. And this is a very important advantage. And you can do in this way a remote asset management using, of course, this type of technology, using LoRaWAN and then using the AI for the analysis of the data. So the cloud platform is a very intuitive interface, because you can visualize all the data in an intuitive and simple cloud interface. Thanks to the algorithms and tools developed, it's possible to analyze complex data, for example, and obtain useful information to take preventive action on the monitoring infrastructure. All these thanks to the wireless technology and the LoRaWAN communication protocol that makes this very important activity very smart. So what are the advantages of this kind of approach? So the IoT technology plus AI. So first of all, the reduction of on-site measurements, for example. Secondly, less disruption to regular operations. You can do a real-time and continuous data visualization. You can do also a long-term data analysis. And of course, in the end, you can do a predictive maintenance. So this is the aim of using these kind of technologies and approach to prevent problems in the infrastructure industries and prevent disasters that sometimes, unfortunately, they occurred. So before I hand over the floor to Manuela, I would like to mention that you can request a free demo of our MyMove platform on our website. If you are curious to and want to explore its features, feel free to sign up and experience it in first hand. So thank you for the attention, and I leave the floor to Manuela.
Yeah, thank you very much, Clerice. And I think it was very interesting to see the great potential that actually LoRaWAN can bring to the infrastructure and asset management. And now I want to focus more on the technical aspects. So now we will cover the main features of LoRaWAN and also LoRa. And in order to for you to see if this is actually a technology that fits and also suitable for your use case. So when we talk about LoRaWAN, so what it actually already is in the name. So what we can also see here, LoRaWAN is a wireless, long-range, low-power, wide-area networking communication protocol. So it's like with other technology, for example, with Sigfox, it's in the LPWAN communication protocol. And also, like it's in the name, one of the main characteristics it has is the long range and deep penetration. So that means that the sensors, so the devices you put there out in the field, can communicate with your gateways over a range of many kilometers. And of course, this depends on the region, on the environment you are in. For example, in agriculture environment, it can reach up to 50 kilometers, but also in urban areas where you have buildings, it still can reach a high amount of kilometers. And also, when we're talking about the deep penetration, if you have use cases indoor, it can also have a good deep penetration also to cover those use cases. Then the next aspect is the low power. So since you're sending very small data, and usually it's also those devices send the data in a scheduled and programmed window, it means that it's usually also save a lot of energy. So those devices within LoRaWAN are designed for low power. And especially when you compare it to other technology, this is a big feature and advantage. The next point is when we look at the open standard and unlicensed band. So when you want to start within this technology, you do not require a license to operate in those unlicensed frequency bands. And also with this open standard, so behind the LoRaWAN, there is a LoRaWAN specification, and this is also supported and maintained by the so-called LoRa Alliance. and where all the players like the device providers, also gateway providers, or also like the network server, they also contribute to this open standard. And this makes it also a mature ecosystem. So it's a really a growing ecosystem behind that. Another important feature is the security. I think this is especially important when you in all kind of use cases. So you have basically your data secured and encrypted throughout the whole network. And it just, you can say, to remove this encryption, it can be only done at the network server or application server, but we will to come that later when we have also a look at the LoRaWAN network architecture. And also the ease of installation and the low cost, it's also related to the unlicensed band. So it's actually not requiring a license to operate in this bands. Of course, it relates to lower prices, especially when you want to enter and make use of this technology, but also the installation. Now, but after showing you really the benefits of this technology, I think it's also important to understand a bit more in detail how it actually works, and also what is the difference between LoRa and LoRaWAN. So LoRa, you can see here below in the lower level, and it is basically the physical layer. And there you also see the different frequency bands, so those unlicensed bands, which can be used depending on the region you're operating. So for example, in Europe, we have the 868, and they are all defined also in those LoRa specifications. And then you have the LoRa modulation. And the LoRa modulation, it is basically what it's doing, transmitting the data over the air, but doing this in a very long range. And then on top of that, you have the LoRaWAN, which is the MAC layer. So this is basically the protocol that it used to enable the networking. And there you have all the security features like activating the device, the frame counter control, and etc. And on top of that MAC layer, you have the application, so your IoT platform. And also comparing it to other radio technology, then the main difference with LoRa is that it's using a chirp modulation, also so-called chirp spectrum modulation that was developed by the Semtech Corporation. And this is also what you can see here in the image. And this is also the advantage of this, that it makes it also very robust to interfaces. And as mentioned also before, so what the radio, the LoRa radio modulation does is transmit the data over the air in a long range, but it does it on the expense of lower data rate. So it means that you can only send small messages, but this in the many use cases already might be enough. So now going over to the LoRaWAN network architecture. So here in this slide here, you can see a typical LoRaWAN network architecture with all the stacks that are included. So on the left side, you see the devices or the sensors. This can be any kind of device. For example, a temperature sensor in order to control the temperature change on a construction site. Or for example, a vibrating wire sensor. And those sensors and the devices, they are gathering your data you're interested in. For example, the temperature with your temperature sensor. And then those devices, they will broadcast the data via the LoRa modulation, and a gateway or several gateways close to the device, they will pick up this message. And the communication between the device and the gateway is bidirectional. So you, of course, there are messages sent from the device and picked up by the gateway, but can be also the opposite. Then the gateways, of course, so you need your you need devices, but you need also gateways in order to pick up this message, and then later also to forward the message to a network server. And the network server is basically where is also LORIOT. So this is at LORIOT, it's our main product, our core product. And you can also say it's kind of the brain of the network. So here at the network server, you manage your devices, your gateways, your users of the entire LoRaWAN network. And then finally, of what you of course, you as also Clerice mentioned earlier, we want to make use of the data, so we want to visualize, and this is happening at the application or at your IoT platform. And then you can forward those messages via different configuration, like the standard HTTP push, WebSocket, MQTT, etc., to your application server or IoT platform. And through all the way, so from the device to the application form, it's encrypted. So there's a very high security there. And as we could see also before, so it's actually a technology which is growing, and also it's growing over the whole globe, especially also with those LoRaWAN specification. So you can basically operate a LoRaWAN network almost everywhere. And here at LORIOT, there are different ways actually to start the journey with LoRaWAN. And also, since it's also quite easy to enter it, also at LORIOT, that you can register an account on one of our community public server. So there you can open an account and also start deploying your first gateways, your devices, and start creating your first LoRaWAN network. And this completely free. To actually get also an idea of the technology, and also that you are able to see the great potential at your hands. And then, of course, there's also other option when you see the potential or in this technology and also want to grow and scale. We have the professional public server, where also there are coming already more features included, also in SLA. And later, of course, which is also our core product, is that are the private servers. So where you have your own dedicated private network server, either in the cloud or on premise, and you can manage the server and also all the LoRaWAN networks on your own network server. And I hope also with this we could bring you closer to the potential that actually LoRaWAN can bring, and also to show you the key features of it. And now I will hand over back to Dario, and we will continue with the QA section.
Thank you, Clerice. Thank you, Manuela, for the presentation. Every one of you can ask your question in the chat or QA session, but I also have some some question. Well, and a couple of considerations as well, and comment I wanted to add. First of all, I've been always amazed by the flexibility of this solution provided by Move Solutions, because in this case, when we unite IoT and AI, is the perfect match. Because I mean, bridges, tunnels, railways, they are key infrastructures, and their failure means a lot of money to recover, a potential risk for human lives and for the users of these infrastructures. But each bridge, each tunnel is actually a unique structure. They have their own, let's say, fingerprint. So using just sensors without adding an intelligence together with that would be like you don't know what you're measuring. So my first question would be to Clerice is what do you actually measure, and how much time need the system to train, let's say?
So with our solution, because we provide lots of different sensors, because we do especially the dynamic monitoring with accelerometer, vibrometer for vibration analysis, for example, and the DDS, that is our patented sensor that measure the dynamic displacement over the time. And then we have the static sensors with tilt meters, for example, that all these kind of sensor have different application, of course. And as you told us before, it's important to match the hardware part with the software part. So it's very important to also use the complete package. So using also our cloud platform, because with our cloud platform, we provide algorithms and tools, specific tools for specific application. For example, we have the railways tools, where you can measure the cant and twist, so the torsions of the railway track, for example. Then we can provide also the model analysis tool, where you can do the model analysis and see the fingerprint of the structure. And so with the cloud platform, you can do a lot of things. You can analyze different aspects of the structure. That is very important, because we released the new MyMove platform, cloud platform, and we have also new features. For example, you can do reports, automatic reports, so you can download graphs, for example, for the specific infrastructure that you are monitoring. So you can do a lot of things with our system, combining hardware and software.
Regarding the report, if I understand correctly, it's like on-demand report. Every time you need a report, you can, let's say, put together your information. But can you also, it's possible also to schedule like recurrent reports, so you have like every now and again the status of the structure?
So at the moment, it's not possible to do that in automatic way, but is in our pipeline, and we are developing this new feature, and it will be available in the next months. So it will be a new feature that you can do automatic wrapper and schedule it, like, for example, every 2 weeks, every 1 month, or every 6 months. Yes, it will be available soon.
Another question, staying in, say, in the bridge example, but I understand that every time can be a different situation. Generally speaking, in the initial setup, you need a set of sensors that you put in a specific place. I guess you know where to put them. And to provide LoRaWAN coverage, of course, we need also gateways on the bridge or close to the bridge. Regarding the gateways, we understood from Manuela overview that LoRaWAN is very, let's say, wide range in terms of coverage. It's one gateway enough? It's better to have two or more, also to offer redundancy. How do you operate in a, let's say, practical way in this?
Okay. Yeah. So it really depends on the specific application, of course. Thanks to the LoRaWAN, we can have installation with, for example, one gateways that cover very big areas, for example, up to 1 kilometer on site, for example. Of course, we have to see if the installation is in a open area or if we have some interferences. So in this case, we have to evaluate how many gateways we can use it. Of course, more sensor we have to also add some gateways, but it really depends on the specific application. In fact, in our department, we have a team of structural engineers that can help the customer to analyze the installation and suggest the customer where to put the sensors and how many sensors and how many gateway related to the specific application.
Thank you. And one of the advantages of LoRaWAN is that you can, let's say, own your own network infrastructure, so you don't need to pay a license for the frequency usage. This is absolutely an advantage for this kind of use case. There are many other use cases, and I wanted to highlight just quickly how flexible is the solution, because of course, also in the image of the webinar, we use the bridge because is very representative. But we've seen in your slides tunnels, railways. I know that you are using it. It's very useful in disaster management situation. You mentioned the silos in Beirut. I know you also use the solution after the earthquake in Turkey.
Yeah.
Historical building monitoring and safeguarding. No, we want to protect this heritage from the past, and this is also a useful tool for that. And so use cases are go really beyond the bridges or let's say infrastructure. Regarding instead LoRaWAN, of course, Manuela gave a quick overview, but it's a good moment to remind that as LORIOT we also offer workshop to go really in depth, and Manuel is actually one of the instructor during this workshop. So if you want to know more about this technology, check out our website and get in touch, so we can provide a workshop to, let's say, go really in depth in the technology and make you an expert. I don't know if there are other questions from the audience. I can see. I see we have two more people that joined the webinar just now. If there are no other questions, I remind you to get in touch and connect with our speakers and myself on LinkedIn. Feel free to look for us and ask for a connection. And I always remind, as usual, our big event in September in Valencia, and well, logistic, but also smart cities are topics of this event. So Move Solution is also involved with their product. And I would like to remind and to tell you about a promotion that is going on, because the event is in person in Valencia, but this is also online, and we are currently giving away 100, well, they were 100, they are already less, free tickets for the online version. So if you cannot join us in Valencia, this is a good opportunity to grab your ticket for the online version for free, where you will have all the keynotes, in live streaming, and the opportunity to connect with other attendees and with the sponsors that will have a virtual booth in the event platform. So don't waste this opportunity to grab your ticket for free and be part of IoT Sparks. I'm not sure if I forgetting anything else. Just last chance for your question if you have. If you don't, and if you want to re-watch this webinar, follow us on our social media, and we will share tomorrow, and for sure also Move Solutions for their official profile, the webinar replay on YouTube. And last thing to say is thank you for being here. Thank you for following this webinar, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.